And the next guy that's some advertising, now if I know how to market, and I do, if I know how to market, I'm going to sell it.
Hey, thanks for joining us and welcome to Tax Deed Investing, 5 Mistakes That Are Killing Your Profits. We're here with Ted Thomas, who is, of course, the authority, America's authority on tax deed and tax lien investing. And, Ted, this is a little different today because we're going to go through, you're going to let us know these 5 mistakes and how to avoid them. You ready, Ted? Mistake number 1, location. How important is it to research the location that you're going to, buy your property, invest in your property in?
Well, anytime you're involved in real estate, you've got to think about location. So location is important. There's a lot of good deals on properties, but sometimes they're in the wrong location. And anybody that's going to buy is going to go to that location and look. So if you haven't thought about the location, you've probably made a big mistake. So that is definitely a big, big mistake.
Well, when you're thinking about the location, what should you be looking for? Like, what are the warning signs?
Okay, well, if it's a property that's like a home that you wanted to resell, um, if the neighborhood has got a lot of old cars parked around it, or the properties aren't being well taken care of, or there's a lot of cars up on the lawn, and there's a lot of people hanging around with paper bags in their hands, you know, there- if there's that kind of thing going on, you probably don't want to buy in that neighborhood. Some people say, if you have to roll the windows up when you go through the neighborhood, you probably don't want to really buy there. So I suggest people buy in a mediocre neighborhood, not try to get in a country club, but certainly don't buy in a ghetto neighborhood.
Well, Ted, let's say I'm investing in a property that's in a different state or something like that. How do I make sure what's going on in the location then?
Good question. Good question. If you're going to buy in another state and you're going to have someone else do this, then you're going to have to sit down and you're going to have to talk with that person. Now, if it's a real estate broker or someone that's trained in real estate, they'll know a lot of this right away because they know that people buy location. For example, a young couple raising a family, the first thing they're going to ask you is, we want to know about the schools. And then they're going to want to know about the neighborhood because they don't want their kid to grow up in a bad neighborhood and whatever. So if you're going to hire someone else, you're going to have to go through this with them and say, look, I want a neighborhood that looks like this. You might have to show them pictures. You might have to go through some instruction. You're going to have to teach them. Now, if they're a real estate broker or they're an appraiser or they're a professional person, they'll understand everything you're saying because they know because they're going through the same thing. So you'll have to educate anybody that's going to look at the property. I tell people, we're going to buy tax defaulted property. Number one, they're used and abused. Number two, they might be abandoned. Number three, they might not be abandoned, but they're not well taken care of. And I go kind of through a process like that of what to look for. Now, obviously, if the house had a hole in the roof as big as your skylight, well, you don't want to buy that house. You're not going to buy it in that neighborhood. Or if there's houses around it. Now, there's parts of the east side of the United States or part of major cities where there's whole abandoned buildings. And when there's abandoned buildings there, I think you really have to give that a lot of thought. So my instruction to those people is don't buy those. If you see the upside, I get it. You see the upside. But if you're going to have experience, you have been doing this for a while, you're going to abandon building. Who wants to move into a property, no matter how nice it is, next to an abandoned building? I mean, when they're row houses and they're all built side by side, they all have common walls and so on. So I don't want to buy row houses that have empties or anything. Because what if somebody gets in next door and they cause a fire or whatever? So looking at the property is important, but the neighborhood for me is more important because you can fix the property, but you can't fix the neighborhood.
Good advice, Ted. Really good. Okay, let's go to mistake number 2 that people can make when they're doing tax deed investing that could hurt them in the profit category. Overpaying for a property. If you overbid, what are the consequences of having done that?
Well, when you overbid, it doesn't show up until you go to try to sell the property. All right. So the money made in the tax defaulted business is when you buy. You make your money when you buy. You collect your money when you go to the bank. So if you have overbid, now how are you going to sell it? Because the property, when you buy it, is not going to be pristine. This is not going to be like going to a builder and everything's shiny and new and the windows are clean and the floors are all sanded and looking beautiful, or it's got nice carpet and nice lawns and all that. These are used and abused properties. That doesn't mean they're bad property. The bones are good, but they need to be cleaned up. And so those properties, if you're gonna do well on selling these properties, you've got to buy them right. So what's happened is the local government's gone out and confiscated the property. Now they're going to sell the property with a starting bid of the back taxes. Now I said a starting bid because it's a public auction. So the back taxes is what the government wants. Okay, they're probably not marking the property up. They probably just want the starting bid. All right, if they can get that bid, they're going to be happy. But other bidders come to the auction. I mean, we're not the only ones trying to get deals. I mean, the whole world is trying to get a deal. I mean, that's why Walmart's why they like Walmart. They got deals. All right, they get less, their prices low. So everybody's competing to buy this property. So if you get in a bidding war and you start bidding the price up, the higher you get, the harder it is going to be to sell, because you're either going to fix it up, you're going to repair it, or you're going to try to sell it to the people that call themselves flippers or repair people or whatever. So if you're going to sell to them, you're going to be able to sell at a good deal. So you want to buy as close to that back tax as possible. Then my strategy is I want to sell it. So let's say it's a $200,000 house, okay? $200,000, the value according to the tax assessor. But we can buy it for 20 cents on the dollar. So we bought it for $40,000, but the tax assessor is worth $200,000. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it up and try to make myself a $25,000 or $50,000. So what if I took the property and advertised it at $100,000? It's worth $200,000, but I'm going to try and get it at $100,000. Well, I got a nice margin, and I probably got a lot of people who want to buy it. Why? Because I'm $100,000 below the market. So I want to try to sell below market. In other words, I'm just copying Walmart and Costco and Target. Now, I'm not very smart, but I kept driving by that Walmart store, and guess what? The parking lot was always full. And the Target store, the parking lot's full. And at Costco, you got to wait in line to get in the parking lot. All right, so everybody's there. Why are they there? Because they want a deal. So I want them to come to me to buy a deal. So I want to buy close to the back taxes. So let's say I paid 20. I'm not always going to get it for 20 cents on the dollar. I'm not going to. But let's say I got it for 20 cents on the dollar. So I paid $40,000. Okay. What if I just sell it for $99,000? And the next guy that's some advertising. Now, if I know how to market, and I do, if I know how to market, I'm going to sell it for half. Then all those fixer-upper people that want to go paint them, clean them, and do all that, they want to buy it from me. So I want to sell that baby that quick.
But you mentioned you're going to go to a public auction to purchase it. You want the low price. When you're in the midst of an auction, you get excited, get a little bit of that auction fever. I mean, how do you protect against that? How do you protect against overbidding?
Well, you don't go and wear black shirts like I've got on, or green shirts. You don't wear those, because what you want to do is you want to have a white shirt. So you got a black shirt, you can't go to the auction with that. So what you do is before you leave home, you write your maximum bid on your white shirt. 40,000. That's you have to stop. No matter what's going on, you've got to stop, because you make your money when you buy, not when you sell. See, the average guy thinks he makes the money. Oh, I got all this money, I'm going to the bank. I'm going to tell you right now, if you overpay for that property, what if you paid $100,000 for it? Now, you might still be able to sell it for $150,000, but maybe not. It depends upon what repairs. Does it need a new kitchen? Does it need a new roof? Does it need a driveway fix? I don't know. So you don't know, because you buy at the auction as is. When you buy at the auction, as is means buyer beware. Now the words say as is. That means nobody cares about the condition except you, the county. They're going to tell you it's your baby. You buy as is. And so buyer beware.
So if I'm hearing you right, Ted, it's like you want people to check out the location, check out the property, and then go into the auction with a number, a firm number, and that's it?
That's it. So, and you're not going to get every property. You're not going to get every property. I had one guy that was just at one of my events, and he found a property that was all covered with trees. It was on a kind of a dirt road, and nobody would go look at it because it's a piece of junk, right? And the county assessed it at $91,000. He bought it for $9,100. Then he went and cleaned it all up, and then told people about it. He had 138 people come and look at it after he cleaned it up. 138 people came after it was all cleaned up. So what does that tell you? See, people, they wouldn't buy it because it didn't look so good when they cleaned it all up and got rid of all those trees that are growing over the top of it and all this stuff. and he sold it, made himself a bundle. I mean, a bundle.
Okay, Ted, here's mistake number 3 that people make when they're investing in tax deeds. It can cost them money, and that's purchasing from the wrong seller. Now, I didn't realize this, but some people notice that you can actually buy a tax lien certificate and tax deeds on eBay or just from a private seller. Is that true?
Yeah, it is. The government allows a market to be established where people could sell to somebody else. So I could have a tax lien certificate and I could sell it to you, but of course we know each other, so there's a certain amount of trust there. But I don't know that I trust anything on the internet. I mean, I don't know. I see pictures, but the pictures might be 40 years old for all I know. I I would not buy a tax lien certificate or a tax deed. Me personally, I would not buy either one of those unless I was buying it directly from the county. Now, let me tell you why. The county is selling these after confiscating them. So the county doesn't even know what condition they're in. And so the county, when they issue the deed, they issue a quit claim deed. A quit claim deed means that the county is saying, we have nothing to do with the condition. So you have to take the property as is, buyer beware, as is. We don't warranty the condition, and we don't warranty any defects in the that'll be free of defects in the title. So if the county's telling you that, why would you buy from an individual you don't even know and buy on the internet? That would be the last thing I would do.
That's a good point. I know, Ted, in the past you said that counties, they're not in there to make a profit. They just need to get either the tax money coming in or just get rid of the property. So they probably have no motivation to try to, make a profit off of you as somebody else might.
Yeah. Well, and who knows? I mean, somebody could say they're going to sell you something. I bought a shirt once on eBay, and the guy said he had this certain kind of shirt and showed a picture of it. And when I opened the package, there was a T-shirt in there.
Not a good idea to be buying, mistake to be buying it from a private or, off eBay or something. Go to the county. So mistake number 4 that people make,
Yeah.
and this can cost them money when they're investing in tax deeds, not following the rules. Now, Ted, have you ever experienced something that maybe you missed out on a great opportunity because there was a rule the county had that you didn't know about? And maybe you can enlighten people. What are some of these rules that can foul things up?
The county, first of all, the counties are very good about telling people as is, buyer beware, be sure and check the property, have boots on the ground because they're not warranting the condition. They'll tell you they're not advocating anything regarding the title. You have to do all that yourself. So the county is very, very good about that. So people should really think about that. If the county's selling it to you and telling you all those things, if you're going to buy it from anybody else, you're going to be super careful of what you're doing. Okay. So the county's saying the property is used and abused. The county's saying the title may not be clear. So you need to educate yourself at least a little bit and go to the county records, which are the public records. You can go in there and check anything you want on the title so that you can find out if there was other liens. For example, when the auction takes place, the deed of trust and the mortgage are basically wiped out. But the municipal lien, which could be on the property, could stay there. Not every property doesn't have one of those. Or a federal lien could stay there. Now, every property doesn't have a federal lien either. But my point is, those liens, so some liens could stay on the property. So if you don't check, it's your responsibility. You're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay those liens. So let me tell you about the county. The county is kind of straight down the road. They don't go left or right. They just go straight. And they say, when you pay us, we keep the money. So you can't call them up and say, hey, the property wasn't very good. I don't want it now. I want my money back. You're not going to get your money back. It's not going to happen.
For a moment ago, we just said, okay, you should go into the auction with a specific number in mind and don't go above that. Well, let's just say my number is 40,000, Ted, and I have a certified check for 40,000, and I win a bid for 40,000. Like, are there any other fees that I didn't anticipate? So it would actually be like 42,000 or,
Yeah, of course.
And then I don't have the money. I don't have the money to pay, right?
Then you're SOL. You're sort of out of luck. You're out of luck. You just lost out. You need to know the rules. Now, here, the county is going to disclose. That's my point. The point is the county is going to tell you about all the things that could go wrong if they know about it. They're going to tell you about that. So they put that in the rules, and they're going to post that not only in an auction brochure, but they're also going to post it on the county website, and you can read it, and it'll tell you right there that that there could be problems with that property, and they'll tell you you need certified funds. What does that mean? That means cash or whatever they say that they want for certified funds. So if you don't have enough money, so if you go in, you had $40,000, and they say, oh well, okay, there's a transfer tax, which there always is, a transfer tax, and that's another 1/4%. It's another $800, whatever the number is. You don't have it. They say no problem. Hey, just go ahead and start auctioning it all over again. Happens every day.
You've given us some great advice for 4 of the mistakes, Ted. We're down to our last mistake. Here's the 5th mistake that people can make when they're tax deed investing, and it can cost them. And I know you're big on this, Ted. Not having an exit strategy. Do you want to talk about that? What is that? What's an exit strategy? Why is it so important to have?
Well, if you're going to an auction, you're more than likely a bargain hunter. And you're a bargain hunter because you want to buy and then you want to resell. Now, there's a certain amount of people that go, they just want to buy the lot next door so nobody else has it. And then there's a certain amount of people that want to buy other land, like open land, and they just want to own it. So they're not worried about the resale. But the people that I teach, they come in, they're in it for a profit. So they want to buy it low and sell it for any number that they can make a profit. Okay, so how are you going to make profits? The only way you're going to make profits is you need to decide on the property that you want to buy. Then you need to go, as we talked about earlier, look at the neighborhood. All right, you'll be able to determine in that neighborhood prices. You could find comparable prices. You could go to the MLS system. You could go to the county records. You could go house to house. Believe me, people know what the house is worth. They know. You go house to house and ask, what's the value? All right, so let's say the value in the neighborhood is $200,000. Okay, just to use the example. And this property comes up for sale for $40,000, and you bid $190 and you get it. You bid way too high because there's only $10,000 in margin. You need to buy the property low enough so there's some margin for profit. But how do you know what the margin is if you don't know what your exit strategy is? So if you don't know what you're going to sell it for, oh my goodness, you don't want to buy it. You don't want to buy it unless it's a house next door. You just want to live in it, or put it there. Now, you can't compete with the guy that's buying the house next door because he wants it for his son or daughter or whatever. So they're going to pay too much because they just want, that's their one time only to get the house. So they'll pay whatever. But the whole idea of the business is buy low and sell at a profit. We want margin. So when you overbid, you got too much margin. Now, here's a bigger problem. And people lose their assets. I said assets. The asset is the property. They're going to lose money because they go in and buy, and it started at, say, $40,000, and it was worth $200,000. What if they bid the thing all the way up to 160, 180, whatever what if they bid too high, and now they have to fix the roof? Or what if they have to put in a new kitchen? What if they have a new bathroom? What if it needs paint and clean? I mean, things cost money. There is no such thing as $10 an hour labor anymore. You have to pay people to work, to paint, to clean. Plumbers are licensed, electricians are licensed, roofing people are licensed. You get what I'm saying. The gist of what I'm saying is all this costs money. So if you buy it, then you got to put all this money in. What if you pay too much? Now you're going to be over what it's worth. Try to sell something that's over what it's worth. You can't sell houses more than they're worth. People are smart today. They can go on eBay. They can go do comparables. They can check around the neighborhood. People aren't going to pay you too much. It's not going to happen.
That's a lot of good information. And, if you're watching this right now and you like what you're hearing from Ted, but maybe you've got a question about tax deed investing or even tax lien investing, you can leave it right down below in the comments column because Ted and his team, they do read that and they do respond. Or maybe in the future, Ted, we may make a video about one of those. Before we leave, though, we do have something for the folks who are watching, Ted. Maybe you want to tell them about it. It's your calendar, and maybe you can explain what that is.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Folks, when I started out, what I had to do is I went to the local county and I got a list of the properties to sell. Now it's the internet age. Now they still have all the counties. There's over 3,000 counties. So if I happen to be sitting in Dallas, how am I going to know what's going on in Virginia or Seattle or California? Well, what I could do is I could subscribe to the newspaper, or I could call the county, but we figured out a better way. So we created an interactive map and auction calendar. It's right below me, and you're going to get to see it in just a minute. Well, folks, you just saw in a small county, there would be dozens of properties. In a large county, when I say small county, I mean small population. What if it had a large population? You'd see hundreds of properties for auction. You can find all that on this auction calendar. I'm Ted Thomas. Don't forget, request your free auction list right below me.